So you just came into the roastery and you were like, I just listened to a super nice podcast.
Yes.
Was Tim Wendelbo and the crew, right? Did a wrap up of the year.
2024. And I've been listening to Tim Wendelbo's podcast for a couple of years on and off. And the wrap up end of the year, they're always very satisfying to listen to. Just sort of a lot of stuff that you can relate to as a coffee entrepreneur, but also fun, just, sort of as amusement.
Yeah. And we felt we need to not be any worse than Tim.
Yeah.
So let's do a little wrap up of the year. Sometimes just looking through the list of coffees we released, I think we're up to like 68 coffees this year, in all ranges from competition to specialty, which is quite crazy. But we knew that like news is what people want, like new releases and stuff like that. It's easier to communicate on marketing channels and stuff. So we briefly talked about like highlights of the year when it comes to coffee. Do you have anything that pops up in mind?
Absolutely. I also wanted to say that, we noticed that when we release new coffees, people tend to buy the new coffee, but they will also buy one of the other ones or two of the other ones. So news is such a sort of helpful force in driving sales for us. But I have many favorite coffees, and also I think it'll be interesting to hear your and my perspective, as I tend to have a lot of relationships with the people. It's sort of about both the tasty cup, but also the people who we enjoy working with also. But so I'm going to refer to my list. We were sort of going through and scrolling, and there's so many amazing producers that we've been working with. But I have to say that really one of my favorite coffees, and it was during the springtime, we got the slightly fermented and washed Pink Bourbon by Alejandra Munoz and her husband, Jonathan Gasca, and we've been working with them for a while. This was the first time that the coffee was sort of like signed by Alejandra, and we had such an amazing response from our customers. It was an amazing cup of coffee. And
really set like the Pink Bourbon on the map for us. We had it for maybe a few other releases before that, but it really like got the Pink Bourbon message out, and people realized how amazing it was.
It's in many ways, now we talk about these sort of Ethiopian varieties growing in Colombia, different parts of Colombia, and the Pink Bourbon is really it's really fantastic.
Another coffee that I think was in the kind of springtime and also very competition driven was the Omblegon that we had.
Yes,
there was numerous baristas competing on the coffee, both ours but also other roasts. And it was such an intense experience, and also something brand new for many people to try out.
And that's by Nestor Lasso, which is another producer that we've worked a lot with. But it was the first time we tasted the Omblegon by him, and it really just like, as they say, sort of knocked it out of the park.
Also so we go by the date of when we bought it, kind of. Another big hit for us was the natural papaya that we served on the Worlds in Copenhagen as espresso. And that was also a very, very nice cup of coffee. Talking about Nestor Lasso, we served his Sidra. Now we have other coffees from him in at the moment, and this list it's
amazing,
amazing list. Maybe we should like clean it up a little bit and post it, because there's like every single coffee on this list tells an amazing story. Like going through the stuff we got from Savage Coffee, Finca Deborah Echo, Iris Estate Nirvana, not to mention Wilton Benitez and the stuff we released from.
So we've been talking a little bit of Panama now and a lot of Colombia. I want to also throw in, we had a coffee, we only had 20 kilos, and it was washed Típica Mejorado by Finca Meridiano from Ecuador. We bought it through Andre at Makikuna Coffee, and it was one of the first Ecuador coffees that we had ever here at Standout, and it was just fantastic. And we went through the 20 kilos. We had people sort of contact us like, save me a jar. We released it as a special in the specialty market, even though it was a little bit more expensive than our normal coffees for the specialty sort of category. But it was also such an amazing coffee.
So I have the opportunity to be able to brew a lot of espresso at home of all the coffees that we do. I do most of our filter coffees as espresso as well, to really try them out and see how the structure and the profile is. And recently, last couple of weeks, I had the SL28 from what's his name?
Linarco
Rodriguez. As filter roast, as I don't know if there's that much of a difference, but as espresso, it was probably my top 3 of the year. So delicious, and all of these like very unique, spicy SL28 notes really came through in the cup. That is one big highlight for me this year.
That's really fantastic, and it's also so much fun because that's one of our specialty coffees again. You'd think like, oh, the highlights of the year will only be competition style coffees. I think we also have like different expectations from the different coffees, but the SL, the washed, or we call it the anoxic washed SL28 by Linarco Rodriguez and his Finca Betania is really an amazing coffee.
Another coffee that we really need to mention is the coffee that I think is mentioned the most of our community. It's the Jorge Mira. The Rosado, right?
Yes.
It's a coffee that so many requested when it was sold out.
Yeah.
We have the new samples, I think, in now, so we're waiting for new coffee, a new harvest to come.
Yeah.
And once again, going through this list is like going through memory lane. It's just 2024 releases.
Yeah.
I see that you already started at 2025. Yes. with that have a lot of amazing competition coffees. So to start with, but that's for next year's wrap up.
And it's interesting. I want to mention one more origin. So we've spoken about Colombia, Panama, of course, Ecuador, but we need to speak about Nicaragua and El Arbol. I would say that we had 3 coffees from El Arbol this year, and the geisha is just like amazing. Yeah. It's the 3rd or 4th year that we have it, and it's every year it's fantastic. It was in the Advent coffee calendar, Cafe Box. It was the number 24, and
which we haven't really spoken enough about, to be like so humbled and grateful that to even be chosen as number 24 in a great company as Cafe Box, their advent calendar, going out to I don't know how many people. That was thank you so much to Cafe Box.
And we had so many sort of people tag us on the 24th. They opened their Cafe Box, and it was the natural geisha from El Arbol. And so many people sort of posted and tagged us about that. Yeah.
Going through some hardware, I think, of the year.
Yes.
We can come back to the coffees maybe, but there's where to start. Should we brag or should we just talk about the lineup?
Well, I think also like you mentioned, so in not necessarily order by date, but to go through sort of what happened in the beginning of the year. The Nordic Coffee Festival was amazing, and we're going back in March to Gothenburg. But I think it was 12 or 15 roasters competed, sending in 2 different coffees. One of them was the same. Everybody got the same, and then we were all allowed to choose. Choose any coffee we wanted, but it needed to be washed. What is washed coffee? We chose to roast a coffee that really challenged the norms of what washed coffee is. So Diego Bermudez had a washed pink bourbon, which is what we submitted, but it had a really exciting fermentation before going through a wash process, and it was so floral and vibrant and intense, and it really stood out, and a lot of people found it to almost be like a bag of candy. And so we won the Public Choice Award. 3,000 attendees tasted all the coffees and got to vote on their favorite cup, and that was really, really amazing.
Another highlight for me as an e-commerce geek is if you start an e-commerce business, to get your first sales is not easy. To reach 10,000, it's another thing. And if anyone is interested of this, we work with Shopify as our e-commerce partner. I love them. It works really, really good, and we have the opportunity to really scale our business, and also with the subscription service we have, there's a lot of tweaks and stuff we can do to really make it work.
And you often, we talk about, when people ask us, tell us about Standout Coffee, you usually tell the story of how our first online purchase was from Hong Kong. And that sort of also illustrates the international aspect of not only our business, but the sort of power that Shopify gives you to get that global reach. And we often will talk about how 15% of our orders are to coffee sort of subscribers or purchasers here in Sweden, and the rest goes outside of Sweden, all over the world. 83 countries.
It's 83 now.
83 countries we've shipped to over the last 3 years. And really, and to hit that, this was half a year ago, so we're way above 10,000 now, but just to reach that milestone was pretty awesome.
And it's cool that you actually get something, because we pay so much in fees, and we pay a lot of things for a lot of things. But to get something back from them, I know all is automated kind of, but it still feels really, really good. So thank you to Shopify, and hope for more in the coming. We released a jar in 2023, I think.
Yes.
But it really grew on us, and we got all the design tweaks, and there's still some stuff that I want to change, but I'm not allowed to change everything at once. But it's really getting out there. We got a new improved lid after New Year's now. We're releasing it. That won't stick that hard to the jar, which is gonna
help it a little bit easier with the opening and closing. It's sort of a tweak.
Yes.
Because I like the way you talk about there's stuff you want to change, but it really is about tweaking.
Yeah.
A little here, a little there. It's sort of an ongoing process, which is very nice, I think.
But I love it. And a lot of people, I think, can relate to it.
And let us mention again. So one of the things that annoyed you is that with the bag, you open the bag and it will never look as pretty again most of the time, because you've torn it, or you've sort of used some sort of a closing device. But here you get the same unboxing experience every time. And it looks as pretty on the shelf in your kitchen,
as in a cafe.
Yes, as in a cafe.
And especially that little easy thing of the same unboxing experience every time. I think that that's really what drives me when it comes to, I think, my kind of red line when it comes to packaging design. Also, when going into the new box is also something that I really, when we designed it, for people to have the same unboxing experience every time. And on top of that, the magnetic closure is something that I dreamed of since I was a child. So here's the new Hydro Honey Shiroso.
Here's the El Oasis Fernando Bocanegra.
That's another amazing coffee. Like when you get it, we got it on the cupping table. When you got it in, it's it really blew my mind, especially when searching for this, like the first ever geisha experience kind of thing. The El Oasis really hits those notes. It's not over fermented like many other coffees, but still something. Also mentioned the box about like the unboxing experience. When we had our first box, it looked really, really good when we shipped it, but we realized when it got to people, it didn't really held up.
Sometimes in the shipping process with careful sort of shipping firms, they would squeeze it. It would come to the customer a little bit dented, while this is a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And it sort of reaches the customer in the perfect condition. For that high-end experience, which is something, language that we use when we try to describe what we want people to experience. I want to go back before we move on to the last piece of packaging to sort of weave a bit back and forth. Is you mentioned the world of coffee. So we had a really amazing partnership with Blue Water in Copenhagen for World of Coffee, where we shared a booth with them, and we wanted to not be all over the place. We didn't necessarily want to get caught up in or bogged down in selling retail bags. Instead, we wanted just to sort of serve the ultimate espresso. So we chose the natural process Papayo by Jose Giraldo, and we had a Keys van Western Speedster. We brought down your EK43, the one that you used to brew espresso every morning with, and we had great water and amazing coffee, and we served it in beautiful porcelain cups, and it was just like crazy. We had so many people come by our booth saying something to the effect like, there's so much great coffee here in Copenhagen, but this is like the best experience.
It was great. And we're going to do it all over again in Dubai in 2 months. It's going to be amazing. So if anyone will be around, we will be there.
We'll be there.
More of that later. Do you want to take us through the bag?
Yes. And so we obviously, and I want to then weave back to sort of our wholesale and direct to consumer sort of two different approaches. But when it comes to the wholesale business, a lot of people want, of course, 1 kilo bags. And we sort of previously had different options, but what we were looking for the whole time was the see-through sides, because then you can sort of, you can talk about what's on the inside. You can, in this bag, for example, see that it's a washed coffee. You can see the SL28, the shape of the coffee bean. So it's informative and beautiful and transparent. And then we wanted to work with an all-over print on, and we've tried a couple of different colors, greenish, bluish, pinkish. And very often when we ship out 1 kilo bags, they're used as storage, but it also becomes part of the interior design. And so to have sort of a wall of these is really adds something to the visual and sort of all over experience.
And as you said, like the interior design, usually the 1 kilo bags, if they're not like under counter, they're like up on a shelf on the wall somewhere. So, and also we realized like in the roastery, everything is like white, gray, and brown kind of thing, and black. So it's nice with a splash of color.
And sort of again weaving back and forth, one of the things that happened this year here in Stockholm is that we are working with now sort of three different wholesale accounts that are ordering quite a lot of coffee. We have AB Café in Telefonplan. We have Gast near
Rådmansgatan.
Rådmansgatan, and then we have Stora Bageriet with its two different locations. And especially in Gust, they really have beautiful shelves. Also, AB Café behind the bar, and sort of you have this wall of pink bags, and it looks really beautiful.
And it tastes very good.
And it tastes very
It's cool at the AB
yes.
Café now. They run through so many different espressos. They kind of do our full lineup of specialty as espresso.
Yes.
At
So
Stora and Gast, it's
get
more static, but
Yes.
still two amazing coffees from
Yeah.
Brazil and from Colombia.
Yeah.
Especially, I would highlight the Honey Captura now
Yes.
on filter.
Yes.
Also, if you want to pick it up, do it as espresso.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
That's right.
Yes.
You often brew that one
Yeah,
as espresso. It's a really nice coffee, and we're very happy with the batch brew program at Stora Bageri is so ambitious, really like leveling up with this amazing Honey Couture.
Yeah, and we got them to pick up some TDS readers.
Yes.
So now we can communicate in terms of TDS values.
Yes.
Which is something that I recommend everyone who has like bigger wholesale clients to, because it's very hard to like communicate over phone when they say like, oh, coffee was tasting amazing today. And we were like, oh, what's the numbers? And they just, no, it just tastes good. Or sometimes like today is a little bit weak. What's happening? And now we can calibrate grinders, water and stuff, coffee, towards the TDS readings, which is really, really helpful. Not only when we can come out and read TDS values, but when they can do it like every morning or whenever they want. So that's something that we want to bring into more clients. Also cool to mention Blue Water again, like the water to be able to even like build the water for clients globally. That's going to be a project that I think we will see more of in 2025. Looking into 2025 quickly.
Yes.
We have some really exciting collaborations that we will announce later. We will keep on working with our wholesale clients. We are invited to numerous origin trips that we hopefully can go to now. Is there anything else you think or you look forward to in 2025?
Well, I think so. We mentioned going to the World of Coffee. On a personal note, I'm looking forward to the coffee festival in Gothenburg again, the Nordic Coffee Festival, because it is sort of a getting together of a relatively small community. It really is the Nordic coffee community coming together. There will be a couple of talks. There will be some sort of competitions, but in actuality, I'm looking forward to just sort of hang out and have a chat and brew some nice coffee and taste some wonderful coffees also. So that's really nice.
Cool. And will we open a coffee bar in 2025?
Maybe.
We speak about it a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
It would be amazing. And then if it becomes in Stockholm or New York or Mumbai or I don't know, it would be, it's something on the list that we speak a little bit too much about. But we can't really write it off.
No. And we shouldn't write it off. I think really one of the aspects that really sort of helps us be very constructive in this, but also sort of makes us push the brakes is the fact that you used to own and have run a few cafes.
Yes.
And so we know what we would be getting ourselves into in a way. I sat in the sort of backseat driver position with you when you were an owner of a cafe, and I saw the frustration and the hard work. And so I think that when we do open up the Standout Coffee experience, then it needs to be something where everything is in place.
I went to London 2 weeks ago and met Paul at Special Guests, and I said to him like, "Do you regret it?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "I was homesick for the first time a couple of days ago, and the dishwasher broke down, and we got a leakage in the toilet."
Yeah.
Then he was like, "That was
Yeah.
something."
Yeah.
But then he had like now 8 employees,
Yeah.
and like the business is
Yeah.
going great.
It's
Coffee
going
was
great,
tasting
yes.
amazing,
Yeah.
and seeing him being the proud owner of Special Guests now is something that
Very inspiring.
yeah, very inspiring, and I hope that we can reach that one day. Also to help us to grow even more.
I also really think that our wholesale program is amazing and very, very sort of successful. I think that in lieu of having our own coffee bar, our more substantial collaborations with coffee bars on a global scale sort of is incredibly rewarding. Recently in Brooklyn, now Katie, the owner of Principles, is sort of doing a subscription model where we every month will ship her coffees. And as she's a multi roaster sort of entrepreneur, she will have us as part of her overall portfolio. But every month, you can always find Standout Coffee in the grinder or on the retail shelves. So, and more of that, you know.
I also think it's cool to see us pop up in New Zealand and Australia, numerous parts in Europe, down in the Middle East, and like in the States, we had a quite for us big presence when it comes to business to consumer, like private consumers. But now there's like coffee bars in Chicago and up in Canada and
Philadelphia. Yeah.
It's really cool to see how, and like there's so many good places out there.
Yeah.
That like the local hero with all the equipment, buying from multiple roasters, and we can really like fit in that lineup very, very good.
We also need to do a shout out to Shin in Tokyo with Unplugged, both in Tokyo and Fukuoka. 2 locations, amazing. I mean, he orders such nice coffees from us every month, and it's an amazing. He has such a wonderful sense of aesthetic, and everything is beautiful. Everything is delicious. Yeah, it's like flawless.
Maybe that shout out list should be longer, but
yes.
That's for another, I think. So I think we should wrap this up.
It was our first try at a year in review.
So now everyone needs to go to listen to Tim's podcast and then ours. You said like he was 1.5 hour long.
Yes.
Ours at 30 minutes, but he's bigger than us.
Yes.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
See you next year. Boom.
Yes. Boom.